mountains are calling. Dive in the lakes and the ocean. Just follow the rivers and forests around you. The wild is out there pulling inside you. A feeling that can't be erased. I believe the impossible is possible together. Yeah, I believe.
Welcome everybody to Planet Possible Day with National Geographic. I'm your host, Melati Wyson, a National Geographic explorer, and I'm currently tuning in live right here from Bali, Indonesia, where, if you can see behind me, the sun is starting to set, which means we might have a motorbike or two passing by behind us. I also wanted to extend an apology for starting a little bit delayed, but we are here now and we could not be more excited to start this program with all of you today. I'm also right now at the headquarters of Bye Bye Plastic Bags and Youthtopia, two of the movements that I started focusing on the environment, education, and youth empowerment. Now, it is so incredible to see so many of you joining us live right now. It just shows that many of us are here because we believe in all the possibilities to make our world a better place. Today is a very special day, not only because it is Planet Possible Day with National Geographic, but today is also the International Day of Climate Action. So let's make today and work towards building a fairer, greener, and more sustainable world. It's going to be an exciting evening. I have a very good feeling about this. We have an amazing lineup of speakers, live events, and musical performances. Together, let's find out more about what it means to be living more lightly on our planet. Over the next 2 hours, we're going to be talking about everything from bubble tea to hurricanes. Yes, you heard that right. And we're doing all of this to understand why we all have to take action right now. And more importantly, how all of your small daily actions make a real difference. Before this event, some of you may have seen that National Geographic posted up some questions on the social media. And we are happy to say that we have got a ton of responses from everyone. So stay tuned for some live discussions for some of those answers later on between our Nat Geo explorers and guest speakers. But that's not all. We want to hear from you, all of you joining in live with us right now. Watch out and listen out for some questions throughout our conversations that we'll be asking you. Give us your opinions, share your thoughts in the live chat, and let's start some real conversations. But before some motorbikes for effect, before we dive deeper, climate change has been all over the news recently and already impacting everyday lives. The topic can feel big, confusing, and overwhelming. So we have invited two of our most passionate environmental activists to shed some light on what is really happening on the grounds, from the front lines of climate change. We have one of my dearest friends, Gab Mejia, Nat Geo explorer, conservation storyteller, and co-founder of the international platform Youth Engaged in Wetlands. And joining Gab, we have with him Antoinette Toss, award-winning actress, singer, Goodwill Ambassador to the United Nations Environment Program, and Cora, founder of Cora, a nonprofit centered on sustainable programs. Now, here's a clip from their home country, the Philippines. Let's take a look.
Hello Earthlings, I'm Antoinette.
And I'm Gab.
Coming to you from the Philippines and from one of the special forests that together we are all trying to protect. Masungi Georeserve. And this truly is a special place, and you might think that we're in the middle of nowhere, but we actually are not. This is located right at the edge of Metro Manila.
It's 1 hour away from Manila and so accessible. And, you know, it's a multi-awarded conservation site.
And, you know, when we really talk about forests nowadays, I mean, the word forest itself, I feel like the word that connects to it that we hear a lot lately is forest fire. You know, something that's happening all across the world. Really, truly heartbreaking to think that we are all impacted by climate change. No one can escape it. No one is immune to it.
And yeah, you can actually see it in the news. It's happening in the Amazon rainforest. It's happening in the African continent, and even Europe. And of course, it's also happening here in the Philippines, in our backyard in Southeast Asia. And what's sad is not a lot of people are actually aware that this is one of the effects of climate change.
Honestly, when we speak of climate change, those who have it hardest, those who are already suffering, those that are already living in poverty, those who have it hardest are the ones that are impacted the most. And when it comes to that, we also, it's heartbreaking to think that some of the strongest storms have hit our country, our region, and not just us, but other parts of the world. When we look at places like Myanmar, Haiti, Puerto Rico, the Philippines, those are actually the big top 4 across the world that are considered the most vulnerable and most susceptible to the effects of climate change. And the simple act of, I would say, nature-based solutions, protecting nature, could have already helped prevent the lives lost, the livelihoods that were lost. And I know that this is something that's also valuable to you as well. And when we speak of nature-based solutions, right now we are actually celebrating the beginning of the decade of ecosystem restoration. So this is forest initiatives across the world, all the ones that we're also trying to protect together, whether it's in the Philippines and the region.
Yeah, and here in the Philippines, we have so much biodiversity, so much environmental landscapes that we need to protect, and how it's so important in mitigating the effects of climate change, from typhoon, droughts, storm surges. And I think it's really important to protect these places that we call home.
One of the most special aspects of the program that we're doing called Woman Grove Warriors, it's truly amazing because it's a group of women that we say vulnerable communities, local communities, women, indigenous communities. They are at the forefront of the negative impacts of climate change, but they are also at the forefront of the solutions. The things that they are doing, their livelihood, their projects, the way they live their life in itself is actually helping build a better world and helping protect these natural habitats, these ecosystems. So when we speak directly of mangroves for areas hard hit by typhoons, just having mangroves there in itself and having these women nurture the seedlings, plant them, grow them, it not only gives them livelihood, it protects the whole entire community. So it's not just saving lives, it's also sequestering carbon.
Yeah, and here in the Philippines, you know, the largest wetland called the Agusan marshlands actually sequesters a lot and tons of carbon. And, you know, it's called like a blue carbon placed ecosystem, wherein it's quite like peatlands, for example, marshes and swamps. So all these different types of wetlands actually protect us and mitigate the effects of climate change by sequestering carbon. But, you know, the thing about these wetlands and, like, you know, coral reefs, mangroves, marshes, and swamps are, they're also vulnerable to the effects of climate change. When you burn them, the palm oil plantations, or destroying these ecosystems. And that's why it's so important to put, like, the livelihoods and these communities at the forefronts who are protecting and, you know, sharing their voices.
At such a young age, you travel to so many far places, so many things that you actually have to explore and the people that you meet. And I know that it can't also be easy for you.
As young people, is that one, we're not being heard, we're sometimes being silenced or looked down upon because we're young, but you know, this growing movement that we have power too. We have to get back this power as a sector, a big sector of society. And also the fact that, you know, I think more personally, really the threats that here in the Philippines, especially when working in the Agusan marshlands, environmental activists or environmental defenders are being red tagged. And red tag is really about how they're being labeled as terrorists or something they're vilifying these people who are protecting us. We've also experienced that kind of red tagging in a way that we had to lie low. Palm oil plantation companies started threatening us in emails and finding us like, and again, I guess that's really crazy in a way how you're kind of scared for your life to just protect something, right? And I also wanted to say, like, you know, despite this, like being in the front lines, I also still have that privilege in a way that I'm not always on the field. And the people who are really there 24/7 protecting the different ecosystems, is that these are the people that kind of really needs to be heard and really be put up there, because they're the real frontliners. They're the ones dodging bullets. Like, for example, we work in the tamaraw conservation program here in the Philippines to save the critically endangered tamaraw. And it's real, the threats are real. They're dodging bullets from poachers, seeing poachers on the field with, you know, these armed men really, you know, threatening them.
Yes.
And it's really tragic, but you know, these are the people that inspires me to keep doing more despite all the challenges we're facing.
It's really sad and heartbreaking that the latest report shows that the Philippines has actually become one of the most dangerous places for land and environmental defenders.
Yeah.
Last year was the highest number ever recorded for land defenders and environmental defenders that were killed.
Yeah.
And when we speak of that, who is protecting the people that are protecting our way of life, that are protecting biodiversity, our forests, our source of water? That's something that drives a lot of what we do. Going back to the youth, Gab, you also have formed your own organization and your own movement fighting for the wetlands.
Yeah, that's true. It's called Youth Engaged in Wetlands. So we co-founded this youth organization, international youth organization in 2018. And what we wanted is to really garner the support and advocacy in protecting and conserving our wetlands. Because our wetlands have been degraded, like more than 50% of all wetlands around the world have been degraded. And it's something that I really, really am passionate about, you know, the beautiful Agusan Marsh, the mangroves that you've mentioned, all of these. It's something that we have to really do action. We need to demand action now. Like, time is of the essence.
And when we really talk about it, it's not just the future that's at stake, it's already now. We're seeing it happen right before our eyes, but that's why we also see the rise of the incredible movements, the voices of the youth like yourself.
We're, I guess, in different generations, but we're here fighting for the same cause, for planet, for climate action, for sustainability. And I guess that's just so inspiring to see, like, that it really starts at home. It really starts working when we work together as one.
So it's pretty amazing to think that it's almost like this great big puzzle. And we each have a puzzle piece. And I don't just mean that as organizations, but I mean that as individuals.
We're all in this together, you know, each one of us, each of our work, individual work. And it's so amazing, like, as you mentioned, this puzzle piece, you know, this puzzle piece for climate action, for empowering our environmental defenders, our climate guardians, and even the youth activism, and really changing the system. We need to be, all of us, to be in this together. Because only when together, it's really possible, you know, to create the changes that we want to see in this world. And it can start, I guess, in small actions that we have, from our homes, our lifestyles, all the way to, you know, supporting livelihoods, or even walking on the street to hold a placard and saying, demanding corporations or businesses to change the ways and systems that they're going with.
You mentioned livelihood programs. That's actually something extra special to us at Cora. So when we speak of livelihood, we learn that, you know, it's not just about bringing aid. When you do development work, it's not just about bringing food and supplies to communities, it's really about empowering them. Because when you empower them, they can empower themselves moving forward, and that is definitely more sustainable. And mentioning indigenous communities. So you're going to get excited about this because it's actually an amazing story from an indigenous community. You've probably heard of bamboo straws. You've probably used them before. But the thing about these is the first time I took a sip from one, it was green. We visited an indigenous community in Palawan, Philippines, and they literally served it to us fresh chopped from the tree.
Whoa.
So that's what we drank from in their community. And it's amazing to see that it not only really starts with them, their incredible knowledge for sustainability, but also how empowering local products from communities that we visit can really bring so much help to them. But it's pretty much a nature-based solution. And it's
Yeah.
also circular economy.
Yeah, I love it. It's not like you're just supporting the community, but really about embodying the cultures that we have and respecting the cultures and people and supporting their livelihoods and maybe even speaking out and like, you know, promoting in a way or amplifying their voices to be so that people can actually collaborate and work together and put up something and maybe whatever advocacy or initiative that they have for this place, for this certain place. One of the biggest wins that we had in, you know, this fight for our climate and planet was in Agusan Marsh was really how working together with the different specialists, advisors that we have from the ASEAN Center for Biodiversity, as well as the Indigenous Manobo community, and working with the other youth organizations and our own youth organization, Youth Engaged in Wetlands, really collaborated and really pushed in creating and developing the Agusan Marshlands as one of the ASEAN Natural Heritage Parks in 2018. And that was really something special, I guess, in this whole journey of like keeping that story alive.
I feel like when you think of the wins with what we do, it's really those big initiatives as well, the collaborations, being able to make powerful steps by working together. And it's also those daily steps, those little steps along the way, the little wins. And it's so important to celebrate the small wins because the big wins, they come with a lot of hard work, but the little wins also pile up into this amazing solution as well. So when we look at that every step of the way, you know, we're proud of the fact that we were able to amplify plastic pollution, the message towards it, and bringing more solutions and ways to provide jobs for communities that actually have a waste problem. So from innovations all the way to being actually giving them jobs and livelihood is something so valuable to us. And I definitely learned so much from you, Gab. You know, thinking about local communities, really seeing the need to interact and to interconnect, and believing that everything really is a part of the whole plan, and whatever affects the environment affects all of us, and that every move we make does make an impact all around us, whether it's on the planet or on people. And we also want to remind everyone, there is no perfect way to live sustainably. There is no perfect way to be zero waste, but all we can do is try to do our part in whatever capacity we have. And that in itself is powerful.
Yeah, and perfect in our own ways. And yeah, I learned so much from you, Antoinette, and I'm just so inspired to go explore my own backyard, explore Masungi, and more of the stories that we have of these communities and people. You know, it's really about, you know, thinking about the planet, thinking globally, but acting locally.
Wow, that was a really eye-opening conversation. What a way to kick off Planet Possible Day. I'm seeing here also from all the live comments, we have Zazila Lai. You know, almost every one of you, over 1,000 joining in live, answering yes to the question, is climate change already affecting your life? Zaziza Lai, so far, yes, National Geographic, the marine and global warming become more hot than before this. We have Vina Esther Figuera. Yes, warmer oceans bring stronger typhoons. Yolanda has devastated our hometown. Another question we asked from the live audience reacting, do you have the courage to defend your environment? This, luckily, the answer was many times yes. So thank you all for joining us, over 1,000 with us here for Planet Possible. It seems that I'm not the only one itching to hear more from Gab and Antoinette. So it is great news.
Hi, Malati. Hi, Antoinette. It's so nice to see you.
Hi, Melati. It's so wonderful to see you. And hello to everyone tuning in live from Asia and all over the world. We actually can't hear you for a quick second, Melati.
Second, Malati.
Sorry, I'm back in. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Well, what would a virtual event be without some technical difficulties? Thank you all so much for your patience. And hello, Gab and Antoinette. How are you both?
Oh, we're ecstatic and just so excited to be a part of Planet Possible. And of course, this wonderful conversation we're having with everyone across Asia and across the world today.
Yeah, it's so amazing to see everyone here, just gathering together, Malati, Antoinette, and everyone around watching. I think it's just an amazing opportunity to be here and, just share stories and discuss about these issues that we're facing in the environment.
Definitely. And to that note, Gab, I want to use the most out of our time with both of you today. Antoinette, your work with Cora is really all about amplifying and uplifting the communities on the front lines. And we heard a little bit about it in the video that we just watched. But can you talk to us a little bit more about why that's so important and integral if we want to achieve climate action?
Thank you so much for bringing that up, Melati. Cora's work really began with a mission to create a platform to empower the volunteer in every single one of us, believing that we all have the capacity to be a part of the solution, whether it's feeding programs, coastal cleanups, tree plantings, and also learning how to empower others to empower themselves through livelihood programs with the Sustainable Planet. But more than that, through meeting these communities, working with them, seeing them face to face and hearing their stories directly, we learn that not only are they impacted the most, women, the youth, vulnerable communities, indigenous communities, but they are also at the forefront leading nature-based solutions and helping protect people and the planet for all of us.
Thank you, Antoinette. And, that just reminds me as well of something that I want to share with the live audience tuning in right now. Please, in the live comments, share with us, where are you tuning in from? We have here Yamtik Tumarao watching from Agusan Marsh Wildlife Sanctuary. Ooh, amazing. Do you know the Agusan Marsh Wildlife Sanctuary?
Yeah, actually, I want to give a shout out to Yamtik. She's at the May. She's one of the environmental defenders in the Agusan Marsh, who has been helping and protect this ecosystem, the largest wetland in the Philippines. And I'm just so happy that she's here supporting, and we're there supporting them through this whole discussion.
And that's the most important part, right? This community-led grassroots efforts from the front lines. And that's what this topic is about. Gab, I want to ask you a question more generally about the youth movement today. Yourself as a young change maker, what do you think the role is of young people in order to push for honest and real climate action?
I think especially all the work that we've been doing in youth, also in Utopia, Melati, we've worked a lot, and all these initiatives that we have. I think the youth has one of the greatest, biggest sectors in society that we can really create change and lead. We're actually leading now for the future. And what's unfortunate is like the young ones are really taking the brunt of the effects of climate change. And, we have these different people who are creating these decisions for us, but it's time for us to make a stand to really, empower the youth movement and really push forward for real concrete changes in the systems that we're living in.
Talking about concrete changes, I wanted to pay respects to the global audience we have joining us tonight and just take a moment to reflect on what sustainability means in different parts and different cultures around the world. So as mentioned earlier, National Geographic posted a few questions earlier before Planet Possible, one of them being, what does sustainability mean in your language? And we saw a bunch of answers. Antoinette, Gab, you also saw these answers. Antoinette, shall we start with you? What caught your attention?
So this actually caught my attention. Pagpapanatili by Wilhelmina Castaneda, because we don't really have a common word that we use for sustainability translated into our language. But I feel that this actually contains the essence of it, which is to maintain something in its present and good condition and to ensure its continuous growth and life. And also looking at, waste isn't waste until you waste it. So if you care for all things, you care for people, you care for the planet and all of creation, that is something that can continue and can flourish and can thrive.
That is beautiful. And it's also funny how the similarities, if in Indonesian, for example, translated directly, sustainability literally translates to the continuation. And I think that has a sense of poetry to it, because that is in its core is what sustainability is all about, making sure that we are going into the future with enough and respecting all that is around us. Gab, what about you? What answer did you pay attention to the most?
This one's actually very interesting because it's something that I've just heard also recently. It's from Obi Noe Madala, and it's about Mama Naeng. And what's amazing is that even in our diverse languages here in the Philippines is that we have our different kind of translations, or in a way, how we can define sustainability. And it means to replenish even if it's being consumed or used. And it's by the Kankanaey of the Northern Philippine indigenous community. And what's so interesting is it's not just about sustainability or keep continuing it. It's about how it's ingrained that we have to give back what we take, right? Like replenishing the things that we consume, the resources that we consume. And it's just amazing to see how sustainability can actually relate to different languages and different communities, even the indigenous communities that we have here in the Philippines.
Gab, you couldn't have said it better as well. And I think the evolution of sustainability, what it has meant, the understanding of many people about sustainability and what it stands for has been tremendous in the last couple of years. And it's thanks to the incredible work of frontline activists such as yourself and Antoinette. Really, really thank you for spending some time with us today for the first session of Planet Possible from the front lines of climate change. Thank you so much, Gab and Antoinette.
Thank you so much, Melati. Thanks so much, Antoinette. And thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you, Gab. Thank you, everyone.
Wow. Keep those comments coming in. We have a live audience of more than 1,000 people joining in from all over the world. We are feeling the energy here recording with National Geographic. Thank you all, and make sure that you're commenting as the videos come on. Okay, the next segment is all about the future of food. So for all the food lovers, get ready. To talk about this sumptuous topic, we've got the rock star of the fine dining world, Gagan Anand. His new restaurant in Bangkok was voted number 5 on Asia's 50 best restaurants this year. Now, alongside him, we have our Nat Geo explorer, Dr. John Cybulski, a marine and historical ecologist based in Hong Kong. I cannot wait to see what fascinating opinions these two will bring up together. But before that, let's have a listen to our musical performance, the first one of the night, from Inch Chua, a singer-songwriter and environmental advocate from Singapore. 3 years ago, Inch joined 2041's International Antarctic Climate Force Expedition and spent, wait for it, an entire month in Antarctica to learn more about climate change. She wrote this song that we're about to hear after that trip to Antarctica to express her thoughts on our shared humanity. We made this music video that you're about to see, so stay tuned, with images contributed by our explorers around the world. So sit back, relax, and let Inch and our Nat Geo explorers take you on a journey across the world.
We're on a journey to nowhere, stealing the sunset from everyone, abandoning the plot at hand. Till the end of the world we meet in no man's land. But who shall sow in tears? So winter you won't start the who shall sow in tears. So winter you won't start. Here we are, on a pale blue dot in a sea of stars. Everyone that ever was and ever is, everyone you've ever loved and know exist. Every king and every coward, every minute, every hour, every help and every hazard, every king and every peasant, every hunter, every forger, every mother, every daughter, every sinner, every saint in the history of our kind resides on a mount of dust, suspended on a sunbeam. How beautiful it seems. How would anyone have a clue until the death of me and you? No man's land knows for me. I'm a dreamer with no exit strategy. There's no man's land knows for me. I'm a dreamer with no exit strategy. I'm human, oh so human, like those before me, like those before me.
Well, it's good to see you again, Gagan. So, where are you right now? You're in NYC, right? Are you in Brooklyn?
I'm in Brooklyn in a place called Coast and Valley. It's a natural wine bar. I think it's a beautiful morning of the fall. And the sun is shining, the leaves are changing, people are changing. I can see season, finally. Because living in Asia, in Bangkok, there is no season.
Yeah, no, so it's funny you bring that up. I miss where you're at because I'm from that part of the world. I'm from up by Boston. I miss autumn, which is my favorite part of the year. I'm in Hong Kong right now. We're currently in the season of very humid and very hot, which is typically all we get here.
Yeah, I think I was discussing, I met some people in New York. I've been living here for 4 months already. And when I meet people and they say, the spring used to be longer, the autumn used to be longer, the summer was shorter, and the winter was longest. And they say now, the spring is getting only 1 month, autumn is only 1 month, fall. And I think that is when I realized, oh, there is a climate change.
And on this side in Hong Kong, you know, every year people talk little bit about how the climate's getting different. This year we had a pretty mild summer, and we just had a holiday, and everybody was talking in the city like, oh, it's not usually this hot anymore. This is when it starts to get cooler. But yeah, we talk about these prolonged changes, and it's definitely real. So I'm a marine biologist guy, so we track temperature in the water a lot, and we haven't seen really the increase that you get in the southern latitudes. And we know it's coming, but a lot of the impact to Hong Kong has actually been like direct human impact, so just pollution and overfishing for the past several decades. So I moved here to study things under the water in Hong Kong. And when I got here, one of the first things that they do, if you're a marine biologist, the other 8 people that are here, they bring you to the fish market, or they bring you to the markets in town where you can see all the seafood that you can buy and eat, because a lot of it's live in these aquaria. You walk down these streets and they have every color fish you can imagine, crabs extending out, and you can pick what you want and they'll cook it up for you. And one of the first things I noticed was none of this is from here. Like, how is all of this here? Wait a second, I was blown away. I didn't know I could fly to Hong Kong and I could get Boston lobster. Like, I'm from Boston, right? And I can fly over here and get lobster. And I was like, what is going on? And I learned that it's almost 80% of the seafood in Hong Kong is imported. And the sad truth is the waters in Hong Kong used to have fish. That was what Hong Kong was. It was essentially a fishing village. And that culture, I feel, exists still, but the resource is gone. And I'm not saying you have to stop eating seafood completely, but it's about limiting that so it doesn't have to be every meal, it doesn't have to be every day. Thinking about those choices that you make. Where is my seafood coming from, right? What is it I should be eating right now, and making those choices.
You know what happened best in COVID was, it's a very sad story. When I arrived in Thailand in 2007, I went to a beach and there were so many things that were flourishing right on the coast. You could see fishes, you could see a turtle swimming, you could see marine life that was fascinating. 2007-8, Thailand especially became so interested in promoting tourism that it forgot what was preservation of ecology. And one island with one hotel with eco-friendly habits became an island with 100 hotels with no garbage policy, without electricity, so everything is on generator. That feeds to the hunger of this so-called tourism. And when COVID hit them, those people who put all their efforts 15 years on tourism lost everything in one day with COVID. And the marine life just took over. They came back. Yeah, they came back, which is a great sign, right? There's a great sign. And I think that is back. Because we are humans, we do not learn. The day the airports are open, they will go back to exactly where they were. And we'll be pushing back the ecology to where it was. Yeah. I agree. Yeah, no, it's the scientific community's been talking about it because there's the cynics and then there's the optimists, right? And the optimists are like, this is great because everyone, I've had more people ask me about the dolphins coming back in Hong Kong, or we heard that Venice, the water was clear. Is that good for the biodiversity? Like, is this changing? And you have those positive stories, but then the cynics are like, well, but people, like just what you said, once those lights turn back on, once the planes can be filled up again, people are going to be filled up and they're going to look and be like, see how hard it was to change the environment? We had to go through an entire epidemic for 2 years just to get any positive feed, and we're just going to forget about it again. The problem in Asia is that we are getting rich. We are getting rich. It's a good problem. I'll tell you why. Because we are rich and we do not know how to control our greed. And our control to greed in Asia is so difficult because the moment you hit January, every supermarket which is expensive, catering to a lifestyle, will start selling Japanese strawberries. But those Japanese strawberries, they taste amazing. Those strawberries come from greenhouse because it's extremely cold in Japan. It's not a strawberry that was grown in summer. So compared to other parts of the world where berries are summer fruit. But we live on that. We are ready to spend our top dollar, our top money, $40, $50 on that one pack of strawberries that came from Japan look amazing, taste amazing, but how much damage did it cause
to
on
get
its
it there?
way?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think of it, and people discuss it as the true cost, right? What is the true cost of this food that was presented on your table? And there's so many different levels to eating sustainably. It's not just about limiting your meat, because you're right. I mean, you can get all your produce, you can be eating a vegetarian lifestyle, and that doesn't necessarily mean it's sustainable if it's being shipped, especially if it's being shipped all the way over the world, right?
I want to be vegetarian. My mom is a vegetarian. I've almost become vegan friendly. I think being vegan is more a fad than being vegan. Okay, you can be vegan, but if you're not sustainable, then what's the point of being vegan?
Well, yeah. The thing for me is a lot of people look at being vegan as being, we're both going to be hated, by the way. Look at being vegan as being healthy, but if you look at the amount of food that's processed in a vegan diet necessarily, or not just a vegan diet, but it can be, that's not any healthier.
I think we first should promote cooking in home. That's the first step towards sustainability. Everybody can cook. Everybody was supposed to cook. It was necessity. Like how we wear clothes, cooking is important. We've lost that. Look at the recipes. A risotto, a minestrone, a clam Boston chowder. All these things that you were created was mixing things of that season. Now minestrone has become a fancy soup in an Italian restaurant. So minestrone was your farmer pheasant meal. Same was a bouillon or a pot au feu or an Indian khichdi or a cow tom or a rice congee. All these dishes were all originally sustainable practices of leftovers or things that are in the kitchen to put together and cook something tasty out of it.
For me, the best way to be sustainable is just to be organized. Yeah. Like thinking of a meal. I mean, which I never did, right? So for years living as a bachelor, I would just go out, I didn't know what ingredients I need, and it leads to waste. And not only are you wasting food if you don't cook with it, everything you buy comes in plastic, etc. Now, thankfully, that I've become more conscious. The biggest thing I found is if I just plan and I think about what I need to eat for the next week, what do I need to cook at home, and then I go to the markets that I can pick and aren't coming in plastic. I go to the wholesale areas where I'm getting my beans and putting it into a reusable glass container. And it's those little things that keep me going because they're harder, but at least I know it's tangible. I'm doing something, even if it's little. And because I'm planning it out, because I'm using these reusable jars, because I'm using these sustainable products and hopefully building towards that slightly more sustainable lifestyle. Staying organized, planning a meal, cooking at home. Even if every ingredient that you have isn't the most sustainable that it could be, at least you've eliminated one waste factor of it, right? You've eliminated the plastic factor. You've eliminated the excess factor if you go out to eat and all that waste. So it's a small win in that sense. And you start to build those little bits of knowledge, and I think that's what people need to start to do and to make those conscious decisions.
So what I did was I trained myself to be greedy, but responsible.
Nice.
You know,
greedy but responsible. I want to see where this goes.
Okay, so greedy but responsible means greedy to cook ingredients, but when you cook them with responsibility. Ingredients that are so-called non-sustainable, to find a sustainable source, and bring that sustainable source to the table and cook it in a way where the customer doesn't feel the difference, but get what they've paid for, so they are happy and satisfied. And
exactly,
I feel more responsible for what I'm cooking for. And one thing I learned as a chef is how to use the whole piece of meat. Like, for example, duck. Now, if you look at Asia, we process the whole duck. So when you go to a Chinese restaurant, you say, okay, I want the duck, the crispy skin comes to you, then you eat the meat, then you eat everything else, and then the other parts of the can be made into a fried rice, into anything else. And that is, I like, as a cooking idea. An idea where you take a piece of meat and not just the best part of it.
I think it's good that you challenge yourself to get the sustainable products that you can. I mean, you sound more than most chefs I talk to that you care about where the product comes from. And in my world, in the marine world, that's hugely important as we continue to deplete marine resources. And I think it's important that we both try to do this in our own ways. You can go top down from fine dining. I can go bottom up from fine home dining, and we can meet in the middle.
Fine dining doesn't believe or doesn't have this guarantee it's fine food. Fine food is good food. Everything that you eat, you give back to the earth. And whatever you're putting, if you consider your body as a temple, remember what you're putting inside. How much of you are you consuming. The least inorganic you can be and the least unseasonal you can be is every step towards sustainability.
Well, Gagan, it's been fun. It's been a pleasure to talk to someone in a fine dining world and realize that they are just as much of a chef as I am and care just as much about sustainability. It's been a great conversation and I've learned a lot.
I think, John, I need to learn more from you, and the more I learn, the more I will cook better, I think. And I think, thank you for this conversation. It was enlightening. And it's funny that I am in your land and you're in my land. Like you're in Asia, I'm in America. And I think it was amazing that we could do this. And at least, I don't know how many people we can enlighten, but at least if somebody thinks 1% of how we think, I think that is already a big impact. 1%.
The small steps. The small steps, Gagan. I appreciate it.
Yes.
It's been fun.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Welcome, John. Welcome, Gagan. Thanks for joining us live tonight for Planet Possible Day. We are so excited to have you here in conversation with us. And to the audience who are still with us and just finished watching that video about the future of foods, join us, tell us in the live chat, what's your local version of fried rice? Now, we'll get to that in a moment, but we also are being joined tonight live with Inch. Hello, Inch. We have received so many beautiful comments from your song recently, and I just want to pay tribute and read them out for you as well. From Judith Felix Santos Felizardo, we have beautiful song, nice views. Almira Severo Borok, we have so soothing, like the Mother Earth. Jim is telling us how they have goosebumps, such a heartfelt performance, Miss Inch Chua. And indeed, I think it speaks for us all. We're so admired and really grateful to have you here. So Inch, I want to start with you. 1 month in Antarctica, what was that like? What stood out for you the most?
Wow. Antarctica, obviously, it's so amazing. I feel very lucky to be able to witness it. And obviously, the first sight of an iceberg or a big plateau of ice was just instantly breathtaking. It really felt like I walked into a screensaver. But I think a deep memory was actually not just seeing the landscape, but eventually, while you're watching this landscape, usually we don't smell what's happening, and while you're there, I was smelling the gasoline and diesel that was on the ship that brought me there. So it was quite of a very heavy moment, and at the same time like a very sobering moment as well, to be able to see such a gorgeous landscape, but the cost of what it takes for a human to even be there. So it reminded me a lot about how important it is to keep our eye on the prize, at the same time be so aware of our complicitness in all of this.
That's beautiful. And I think, we see it in the images. It's such a visual storytelling process. So thanks, Inch, for the music video and the performance tonight. I wanted to ask, John, quick thoughts on your perspective as well. As a marine ecologist, what are the changes that you see happening all over the world?
Yeah, thanks, Mala. I mean, it's a great question, especially when we're all living in the age of COVID, right? So where humanity and development and all these things have taken a backseat for a year. And we've noticed, and you hear these stories, these anecdotes around the world about nature coming back. I'm in Hong Kong right now, and we've definitely had more days with better air quality. You hear about different species being present, and it gives you this glimpse of hope during COVID, this understanding that maybe if we were able to dial back some of these disturbances to our world, we would truly start to see this change that everyone's hoping for, this sustainable change, this environmental change. So it's been encouraging in that sense, COVID aside, to see that these things are possible.
Let's go to the other side of the world. Hello, Gagan. Thank you so much for joining us today. And as a rock star in the fine dining world, I was curious to hear your perspectives, especially in the future of foods. What are the sort of changes that you've seen in fine dining? Is sustainability really being taken seriously, or is it just, as you shared with veganism, a fad?
I think fine dining is now being awarded to be sustainable, and I think these are baby steps. I think sustainability, as I said, and I keep enforcing, comes with ethics in cooking. It should not be on fine dining. In fact, if you look at the percentage of people eating out, fine dining could be probably 1 or 2%, where people eat out in corporate whole restaurants. Those are the ones which are really affecting the sustainability in food. And I think those people are to be taken care and pinned down with. I think fast food chains, we eat at least 21 meals in a week. Let's look at how many fine dining meals we eat. So yes, fine dining, yes, but I think in all the food available to us, the accessibility, the logistics, and just ordering a food on phone has made the problem bigger.
And I like the aspect that you bring about accessibility. I have a feeling this will be a common thread throughout our conversations today. I wanted to also take the time to go to our social engagements. As we shared earlier, National Geographic posted out some questions for this specific segment on the future of foods. The question was, how would you make a plate of fried rice eco-friendly? And here were some of the comments that came in from all around the world. We have one about palm oil. So Inch, I know this one caught your attention. Can you talk to us why this caught your attention?
Yeah, thank you, Mark Daniel Weebly, for your statement. I definitely love a good fried rice, and honestly, coconut oil is really tasty, and to me, even fried rice as well. And it is more sustainable in some sense, especially specifically to Southeast Asia, considering a lot of the haze problems are very related to palm oil. So if you're ever going to even cook with something as simple as oil, picking a RSPO or sustainable palm oil is extremely important. Or just maybe switch up and try different kinds of oils as well. And it might save the orangutans, as you say.
That it will. Another one came up, and I want to go back to something we heard in the pre-recorded video between John and Gagan, leftovers. John, you are obsessed with leftovers. I think your heart beats for leftovers, and this comment specifically talks to us about the perfect fried rice with leftovers. Can you talk to us what caught your attention to it, and maybe a little bit about why leftovers are key?
Yeah. I really appreciate this comment from Ruth, shouting out the good word. I mean, leftovers, as somebody who eats a lot, they're a great thing, right? Because they're efficient. Leftovers are food that could be wasted, but you're choosing to enter into your diet and you're choosing to use. And living in Hong Kong, I've learned, the best fried rices are those that are made from leftover rice and leftover ingredients. You throw that all together, and those make the best flavors. And Gagan and I were talking in our conversation before that a huge part of sustainability is actually this efficiency in cooking, this planning, right? So it's thinking about the ingredients that are going to go in, thinking about how you can make those sustainable. And if you make meals for purposeful leftovers and you turn those into yummy fried rice, it's like win-win-win, right? So I really appreciated this comment. Chef's kiss, chef's kiss. Because this speaks to my heart and soul. I've been eating leftovers since I was a little kid, and I didn't know that was sustainable.
And why not? I think we've all, in some shape, way, or form, have all become fans of leftovers and turning it into a delicious new meal. Gagan, the last comment I want to bring up from the social engagement with National Geographic is from Day. This is kind of asking as well to look into the question of whether to use an earthware or a clay pot to cook. What are your thoughts, Gagan?
I think have a nice day is great. She's good to approach on earthen pot, but I don't think so. You can cook up fried rice in earthen pot. You can steam a rice or boil a rice in earthen pot. One and two is I think when you go to rice, leftover is the most important part. Fried rice was never should be made from fresh rice, but most importantly, every ingredient that goes inside has to be rooted to the source. The oil, was it cold pressed? Was it organic? Was it had non-GMO? Was the rice, just to get the main ingredient for fried rice, a sustainable rice is the most difficult, challenging part. You cannot get it off the shelf. So getting a sustainable rice is the most difficult part. Rice has become the most unsustainable practice in Asia. And feeding the rich and feeding the poor by food, but actually feeding the rich. So that's very important. Yeah. Rice,
Thank you,
sourcing,
Gagan,
everything, oil, yeah, sourcing.
And yeah, we heard that as well in your previous conversation. So thank you for highlighting those important facts. Inch, John, Gagan, thank you so much for shedding light on the future of foods. Who knew it could be so integrated into the climate crisis and the fight to take climate action? Now, let's stop this conversation before I get any hungrier. And thank you all so much, John, Gagan, and Inch.
Thank you so much, team.
Thank you.
Keep doing the good word.
All right, let's pop over to the next topic on arts and resilience. We're meeting with Hannah Reyes Morales, a Nat Geo explorer and documentary photographer based in Manila. Her powerful images transport you across the world, documenting tenderness amidst adversity. She is in conversation with Chitra Subiakto, founder of the sustainable batik fashion brand Sajau Mata Mamandang, which I'm personally a very big fan of and had the pleasure of wearing during the premiere of my film at the Cannes Film Festival. Chitra is using her brand to fight for the environment and at the same time help grassroots NGOs across Indonesia. So keep on watching and keep on commenting, and let's have a listen to both Hannah and Chitra.
Hi, Kitra. How are you?
Hannah,
Where are you right now?
Well, I'm in Bali at the moment. It's a family place where I used to go here when I was young. I was born and raised in Jakarta, but since I was a kid, my parents always brings me here. So it's like a place where I get most of my inspiration. Where are you? It looks so nice, your place.
Thank you. I'm in my house, actually. I'm in Manila, not very far from where I grew up. This is sort of like my studio slash workspace. You know, this is where I plan my projects. And really, the city and this place is really sort of like the vantage point from where I really see the world, if that makes sense. I work mostly in documentary photojournalism. My language really is visual. It's the way I think. It's the way that naturally I feel. It's the way I communicate much more than any other way. When I think about different critical issues, whether that's climate change or public health, displacement, any of those things, you look at the numbers, and for me, I'm most curious about how are these numbers lived? What is the lived experience of this? How can we show that? And how can we help people understand it. So for example, my latest project for National Geographic was a story about lullabies and bedtime rituals around the world. This simple, soothing song that we all know about, you know, to put a baby to sleep, actually holds so much more. You know, through doing this story, I realized that it was, at the end of the day, a way that caregivers express what's in their heart. It's a way that not just to comfort a crying baby, but it's also a way for them to navigate their own fears. And so for me, you know, that's one of the ways that I use my practice to talk about different critical issues. You know, you ask a viewer just to think about something like lullabies, just to think about something like bedtime, and realize that they share something with a refugee, that they share something with a teen mother, that they share something with a frontline worker. And it allows them to really enter that world and instead of having them look away, you invite them to participate in these rituals. I know that you've also seen that in your work, when you work with textiles, when you work with the women in communities who help you make your brand. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yes, in Indonesia, I think most women still do like a traditional chores, like doing a household job and having children. And since the beginning, we work a lot with a lot of young mothers throughout Indonesia. I work with these young mothers who live in a government housing project, who live in the outskirts of Jakarta. It's like far away. So it's not easy for them to earn extra money. So we come there with a team and we teach them how to make batik, and we make special pattern for them and we produce with them. But what interests me is, you know, the first time I met them, they're very shy. But then after 3 months, 6 months, they can look me in the eyes when they talk. They told me stories. Oh, now they can earn money and starting to save money to buy motorbike, for example, and not really rely on their husbands anymore. And these young mothers is very young. They're like in the early 20s and already have 3 to 5 children. But why this story is very close to me, is close to the heart, because I think it's me more learning from them. It's a proven that if you want to learn, if you want to do something, you don't have to come from like a family or a DNA who's doing art or anything. As long as you want to learn, you eager to learn something new, you can do it. Like for example, these young mothers, they don't have a family who's doing batik for years, but they want to learn, so, and they can.
You know, for me, growing up in the Philippines, I wasn't super exposed to the arts. I didn't get to go to museums that much growing up. Until I was a working photographer, I'd never been in a photography exhibition. I think a lot of the time, people think of the arts as something they can't participate in. It's like they see a gallery wall and it doesn't feel like it has something to do with them, or they don't feel like they have a stake, that they can have an opinion about it. And that's most certainly how I felt. What I try to do with photography is to make sure that I am able to put it in platforms that people feel that they can touch, people feel that they can have a stake and an opinion about. One of the most important things for me is to make it very accessible to people. And it's also why it's very, very important to collaborate with communities. When you include them in the process, then art stops being this unapproachable thing that only rich intellectual people can engage with. We need to stop letting art exist only in inaccessible, only expensive places.
Art is what I love, and I think we both use that to communicate with people about the issues. I use visual a lot because for me, I think it's easier people understand an issue and topic rather than someone just told you. I think maybe most people that follow fashion label, for example, in social media, they don't follow like about environment or NGOs, so they don't really understand the issue that much. So we're planning to use our platform as a fashion label to spread this awareness.
As an artist, you can't just do it for the sake of it. You have to respond to the issues around you. You have to respond to the issues in your own community. And that's really the power of art, right? Like, it allows people to look at their lives. I think the more that you go into looking at different problems, the more you realize how interconnected those problems are. For example, one of the stories that I worked on was about how natural disasters in the Philippines drove women into the sex trade. For them, it was a need because they didn't have any more homes. So people took advantage of the fact that they had lost everything. That was one of the things for me that made me realize how unexpected these consequences are. Like, it's not just a natural disaster taking a person's home. It has long-term effects on generations to come.
It's a time for us all to rethink about what we did, what we haven't done, what we can do, to learn about what should we do, what we shouldn't. As a creative people, we have to think about more on how we're going to create something. It has to be more responsible. Seven years ago, I make a textile label. It's called Sejauh Mata Memandang. Sejauh Mata Memandang means as far as your eyes can see. It's a slow fashion label. We make clothes that are timeless and trendless. So we produce something that you can wear forever. Not many people here understand that actually fashion is one of the biggest polluter in the world, because most of our clothes is mixed with polyester, right? And it has microplastic. We really do rethink and how to make it better, how we produce. We learn about circularity. So when we design, we already have to think about the end result. Is it gonna be forever waste? Is it gonna poison us, or it can be recycled or reduced? We have to design for life, like and produce responsibly. I think all of us, we have to make a change. It's not easy, but I think we can do it together. A lot of collaboration, like a lot of artists do collaboration because we can't do it ourselves.
I guess, like, for me, photography has always been such a solitary practice, but I've always heavily relied on community. I've always very heavily relied on other people to help me navigate that. And I think, you know, one of the saddest things about the pandemic is, you know, you weren't really allowed to see your people. You weren't allowed to see your peers. I met with some of my closest friends who were also artists. We started connecting just very casually. And then we realized that because we were all feeling the same way, that we could all actually just build a community of artists. So that's when Emerging Islands was born. So Emerging Islands is a residency program that we built during the pandemic. In fact, we built it almost as a response to the pandemic. We wanted artists to be able to meaningfully connect, not just to each other, but with communities. We wanted them to be able to connect with scientists. We wanted them to be able to collaborate with each other. And we wanted to hold space, really, for practice and process. We started creating. We started going back to our practice, but we decided to do it together. And I think that that's the importance of having other artists around as well, because they're looking at almost like the same thing. They're looking at the same issue, but they're looking at it in a different way. And I think the more dialogues we have and the more we can inform each other's process, the more we can inform each other's practice, that's really when we can stand together as a community, and not just, you know, as individuals. Arts can help us visualize something better than what we already know. And I think in a time of crisis, that's really where arts is needed. And hopefully those around you will be touched by that too. And hopefully, you know, you can start dialogues in your own community too.
Wow, I get so many information from you. It's so nice. I learned so much today.
No, me too. Thank you so much. I think, I think it's been super exciting to be able to have this conversation. I hope someday I can go visit you there.
Yes, please do come here to Bali.
Yeah.
Wow, what an absolutely inspiring conversation between Chitra and Hannah. To be honest, everyone, I am fangirling quite a little bit just because of how amazing these women on the front lines are. So we've also put out a question to all of you joining live. The question was, name a positive female role model in your life. And here are some answers. Pieta Dilegro Micui says, one of my positive female role models is Gina Lopez, a Filipino environmentalist and philanthropist. Asif Khan shares that Diane Fossey is their female role model, American primatologist and conservationist. Then we have sorry for mispronouncing any names, Dijanvi Asibor Abiog, says, my mother is a positive role model in my life. She is hardworking and is very resourceful. Wonderful to hear all of these comments. Again, we really appreciate it when we can hear from you, our live audience joining us tonight. Let's move on and now invite Chitra joining in live for the next part of this conversation. Hello, Chitra.
Hi, Melati. Hi, Lily.
Hello.
I'm so excited
Lily.
and nervous.
Don't worry about it. I think we're set for a great conversation. Maybe a new face for some of you joining us in the live. We have Lily joining us. Please introduce yourself to the audience and share a little bit about who and what you do.
Hello, everyone. My name is Lily Gall, or Lily Sedigat, and I'm a National Geographic explorer and multimedia storyteller who focuses on bringing to life the systems of waste. When you ask yourself, where does trash go? We generally just think the trash bin, but actually there's an entire system of people who are working on the front lines to support where our trash goes, how it moves through systems, how it gets recycled, where does it go? So I bring to life those narratives and those stories about plastics, recycling, and this idea of circularity so that we can be connected not only to things that we use, but understand where they go after we throw it away. So I'm so excited to connect this idea of circularity to fashion and what Chitra's doing. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you, Lily. There couldn't have been a better person to join us in this conversation. Both of you are here to talk a little bit about fashion and circularity. So I thought, what better question to start with than taking a bit of a step back and looking at the bigger picture. When we talk about circularity, specifically in the fashion industry, what does that mean? What does it really look like in practice? Chitra, can you talk to us a little bit more?
So Melati, as we all know, fast fashion is leading to a mountain of clothing being thrown away each year and has a huge impact on the environment. So circularity is one of the key. It starts with how we design. It has to be circular, like we have to design for life, choosing materials that can be biodegradable. Avoid polyester as much as you can because it's plastic, and produce responsibly using certified product And then think about when we stop using it, where does it go? Is it going to be a forever waste, or it can be upcycle or recycle? So all of this has to start in the beginning. Don't look for perfection, but make a change. Even a small step is important.
I think, again, another common thread that I'm going to be seeing a lot from our conversations today is really looking at the source. I think that's a big part of what it comes down to when we talk about sustainability. One of the live interactions that I want to pull in the audience tuning in from all over the world is to take a moment and look at the clothes that you are wearing right now and tell us in the live chat what material it's made of and maybe a story behind it. Lily, you talked to us earlier behind the scenes about the importance of connection to your clothes. Can you talk to us a little bit more about what you mean by connection with your clothes?
Sure, absolutely. So when we think about what we do when we put on clothes, we want to look nice, we want to be able to function, we want to be able to manage the climate around us. But to really be a steward for the environment is to really understand the power of connection. And that comes with not only like how you dress, but how you eat and how you dispose of things. When we're thinking about clothes, right? Like this flannel that I'm wearing right now, these alpaca earrings and this compass necklace, each one of them is given to me by somebody that I love. And there's a sense of connection that I have to that person by means of using this recycled flannel from my partner, for instance, or this compass necklace. Each one of these things that I'm wearing allows me to feel connected to the person that I love. And as a result of that, makes me care for what I'm wearing. It's not only functional and being able to make me look like a decent human being, or when I dance, when I break dance, I can look really fresh. But the idea is when I have something that is given to me by someone that I care for, that is recycled, that I'm going to give something to that I want when it rips or when it's frayed, I'm not just going to throw it away. It's something that I want to take care of, something that I'm going to repair, something that will last a lifetime because I have a connection to it. And that's what's really important when we think not only about fashion, but the way we think about sustainability. It's all about understanding those connections.
Chitra, you talked a little bit about the production side, right? What it takes to build and produce responsibly when it comes to the fashion industry. But being part of Gen Z, sometimes there's this connotation or this idea of the outfit of the day, right? This incredible need to show up ready, dressed to impress. And it can become quite difficult when we think about, lessening our consumption, or, for example, if our clothes have a tear or a rip, we would get rid of it. What's the concept behind repairing our clothes? Who wants to take this one, Lily or Chitra?
Well, Lily can help me. She's better talking than me. So I think first we need to slow down, take a little time to reconnect with our clothes and appreciate them again. And I think repair is one of the key. Don't throw it away once you feel it's not nice anymore. Try to fix it, try to repurpose, like your clothes, repurpose your clothes to other useful product. For example, t-shirt can be a bag or kitchen clothes, or even me, I use it as a pillowcase. And I think we have to remember that whatever you are wearing, it took both physical and creative resources to make. And whenever possible, choose durable over disposable, repair over replace, and used over new.
Yeah,
I hope it
absolutely.
helps.
Chitra speaks so well about this. When we think about this concept of circularity, it's not just a matter of it's a circle, but it's about prolonging the life of something that you use, allowing it to have more than just a single use or a single purpose. So for instance, if something loses a button or it gets torn, you can prolong the life of that thing. You can give it a new life by making sure it gets fixed. And that's what we mean when we think about circularity. Because think about humans. Humans are not just children for the entire life. We go through different stages of life. We're adults, we're students, we're workers, we have families. And each one of these stages, we transition, but we still continue our life. And that's what we mean with circularity and with our clothes as well. And when you apply that repair mentality to your clothes, it's not just like, oh, I'm going to sew a button. Actually, that repair mentality really affects the way we connect with other people. What happens when you have a relationship that's broken? Are you just going to throw it away? Or are you going to take the time to mend it? You're going to take the time to care for it and work through it and get through something together and grow through that experience. So that repair mentality with our clothes is also something that can be applied to our relationships with each other and our relationships with the planet at large. And that's what we mean when we think about circularity and that connection and care.
I hope that everybody listening to this conversation is grounded in the feeling that, yes, you can still look good and dress sustainably. So, that's really one of the key takeaways as well from a Gen Z perspective for sure. We also asked many people in the live comments, are you fashionable yet eco-friendly in the way you dressed? A lot of you said yes. Aya Raya, you say yes, most of my clothes are either secondhand or upcycled. Lovely. Alphabet, you are sharing that you are very fashionable, eco-friendly, in a sense that instead of throwing it away, you're recreating something new from my imagination and using it again. Amazing. We love to see the creativity out there. The last one, Pieta di Legiro Miqui. We can buy clothes from thrift shops, or then we can practice sewing skills that might help recycle old clothes. Who doesn't love a good thrifting? Okay, wonderful. The last section that we have here is if you could only wear one outfit for the rest of your life, what would it be? Quite an interesting question. And we got a couple of responses that I wanted Lily and Chitra both to reflect on. Lily, do you want to start us off with the comment that we got from Via?
Yes, so Via's comment is so cool. She talks about a malong, which is traditional Filipino tube-like skirt that can be wrapped around the body, be used for both men and women. It has like local and traditional designs and imprints on it. It can be both handmade out of cotton and machine made. But what I really love about her comment here is that you can use it as a dress, as a towel, as a blanket. You're talking about multi-purpose, multi-use. It's not just a shirt that you could be like a good-looking human in. It's something that you can move around in. You can experience the world in different ways and has different needs to fit your needs. And that's really cool.
Exactly. And I think that's also the momentum and the mental kind of state of mind that we need to all move towards, this meaningful, multi-purpose use with the clothes we interact with every day. Chitra, there was something from Agnes, which is maybe a bit of a challenging take on how we can overcome those challenges or maybe obstacles when it comes to dressing more sustainably. Chitra, what are your thoughts on what Agnes has to say here?
Well, hi, Agnes. First of all, don't worry. By noticing it as an issue, you already made the first step. And we all can start small. Doesn't have to be perfect. Like I said, perfection is unreal. So you can look after your clothes better, so it will last the longest time. And then this is the hardest one. You can learn to refuse when we want to buy something, ask ourselves, do we really need it? Or am I going to wear it for the next 10 to 20 years? Mm-hmm. And if you have to buy from local slow fashion product that's responsible enough on their production. And it also means you support the local people behind it. And then, that's it. Just have fun with it.
Yeah, and with that, we come full circle on the topic of fashion and circularity. Thank you so much, Chitra and Lily, for your time with us today.
Thank you. Bye.
Now, for the over 1,000 of you still watching, stay tuned for a first look at an exciting music video teaser. A collaborative work between the Emerging Islands program featuring various Filipino artists, director Jude Figueres, and the chart-topping band Ben and Ben. Check it out. us now, live, to talk about the teaser we just watched, we have its creative team. Our Nat Geo explorer, who's also part of the Emerging Islands program, Hannah, together with director Jud Figueres, also the popular band from the Philippines, Ben and Ben, as well as the co-founders of Emerging Islands, Nicolas Sebastian, David Lochern, and Samantha Zaranin. Welcome, everyone.
Hi.
Hello. Hello.
Happy to be here.
Now, that teaser that we just saw was so incredibly powerful and moving. Tell us more about this video, the unexpected collaboration behind it, and why the lyrics, what the lyrics mean. Ben and Ben, this one's for you.
Well, Melati, hello, and we're very happy to be here. First, I think it's very exciting to announce that the full video will come out in November. And a bit about this collaboration. We were very happy to be able to collaborate with very kindred spirits, which we found in Emerging Islands, because we really found their creative souls to be unified with ours. And so we suggested the use of our song. Back then it wasn't released. It's called Kayumangi, which is a love song, but it's also a love song to our identity, our skin, our identity, our color as people. And from there, the creativity and the spirit of everything just flowed. And now it's a full video. So we're very happy, the whole team, as well as Emerging Islands, with how it turned out. And we can't wait to share it to all of you.
Well, thank you so much, Ben and Ben. The framing looks amazing. We're so happy that all of you are here. Definitely a lot of fans are sending love hearts in the comment section. So hope that you feel the love, and we're looking forward to seeing the full video in November. Now, moving on, Hannah, hello. Can you tell us what exactly is Emerging Islands?
Hi, thank you so much, Melati. So Emerging Islands is a coastal-based Art for Impact organization with a residency program at its heart. We hope to connect local Filipino artists with the communities that we work with, as well as the natural world. So to respond to this beautiful, beautiful song by Ben and Ben, we connected filmmaker Jud Figueres, who's next to me, cinematographer Choice Israel, artistic director Mano Gonzalez, with local artisans that we work with in our residency programming. And for this song in particular, we were really excited because everybody's input really went into the video. Everybody explored Kayumangi in their different ways, and I think that it really shines. So we're really excited to have this project with them.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Hannah. And we're happy to see you here after watching your conversation on the previous segment on arts and resiliency. So thank you for that answer. Moving on to David, we have the question here, why Kayumangi?
Hi, Malati. So Kayumangi basically means the color of brown skin. And we all know this because we're taught this, but we felt that there might be more to Kayumangi, and especially after hearing the song live, when Ben and Ben played it to us for the first time, we all kind of cried actually at the same time. And so, we knew it was a love song, but somehow after that moment, we felt that it was a love song to everyone. And so we really went out there wanting to look for that communal spirit, the communal feeling or meaning, and see how Kayumangi might manifest in all of us. And so we went and searched for Kayumangi where people and land lived in intimacy, and found knowledge about sun, land, and sea that passes through lived experience. So it's real wisdom, And we also sought Kayumangi as a creative force in the people who created from and for the earth, as artists who ultimately tell their own stories through their work. And lastly, we understood that Kayumangi was a familial spirit that brought people together in profound ways by the forces of the natural world. So it's really these three aspects of Kayumangi that served as our lenses to explore these communities.
Wow, Kayumangi. I'm learning a new term that embodies three incredible principles. Thank you, David. Judd, I want to move on to you. Take us into your mind. What was it like bringing these ideas to life?
Melati, for Kaymangi, what we did is we documented these communities and their very, very close ties with their surrounding, with the nature that's surrounding them. And there's also this attempt to document parallels on human skin, on human body with textures of nature. That's how we dissected what Kaymangi is. It is a study on brown skin, but also it's an observation on Filipino identity. That's why during the whole filming process, we were very sensitive to not just capture the physical beauty of the communities, but also their true essence, their spirit. And I want to thank my cinematographer, my female cinematographer, Choice Israel, for that, because the whole filming process was very gentle, was very humble, and there was a lot of respect. And respect, I think, really fueled our intent to deliver a sincere and authentic material to complement the Ben and Ben song.
Again, going back to one of the first topics of Planet Possible, which we covered, which is really, the ones who are on the front lines of the climate crisis. Judd, you spoke a lot about the people in these films. So I wonder if, Samantha, you could tell us a little bit more about who these people are in the video, because I recently heard as well a typhoon struck these communities not so long ago.
Yeah, so actually, when choosing the communities we wanted to feature, we wanted to choose people that we were already working closely with at Emerging Islands for our programming. So the first being a fishing community that transitioned from commercial fish pens as a livelihood to stewarding a mangrove park. And then we also had a traditional weaving community trying to revive a dying craft, but actually lost a lot of their important clients because of the pandemic. And lastly, actually, our the little surf town where we live, where the sport has given new opportunities and hope to the people that live here. So all of these are actually coastal communities. And as we all know, they're also more vulnerable to climate disasters. So as Melati mentioned, there was a typhoon that hit us just last week, and the government actually didn't predict the severity of the storm. So most of us were caught unaware, and we all experienced it ourselves since we were here. Our province of La Union declared a state of calamity with more than 17 towns and about 3,000 families severely affected. That's about 10,000 people, and about half of them being children. So when storms like this happen, actually, you can see how the community efforts can mitigate the effects of typhoons like this. So the fisher folk, actually, when we had talked to them, they mentioned that they had planted almost 500,000 trees, and they said to us, we can barely feel the waves anymore. But even then, they had gotten flooded in their village, which prompted them to realize, I think it's time to plant even more mangrove trees. And another thing was, it was inspiring to see how the surfing community had banded together for relief operations for neighboring communities. And it really warmed our heart to see how all these communities were helping everyone that was in need, and they wanted to help. So actually, if you also want to help, you can visit our Instagram for more information. It's at Emerging Islands. So there's some information there where you can donate if you want to help out those who were hit by the storm.
And definitely encouraging everybody to check out the Instagram page. I know from my own experience, it is not easy out there on the front lines every day. So I just also wanted to express the gratitude for all the amazing work that you're doing and the mission that Kayumangi stands behind. I also wanted to call out our live audience, sharing some positive words. Kathy says, embrace one's race with a lot of hearts for the mission of Kayumangi. Jamuel Alde is saying, literally, it means embrace the color. Figuratively, it tells the acceptance of your own identity and the identity of your ethnicity. So again, please feel the support all around for the work that you're doing. But for the last question, Nicola, tell us, what's the message you hope people walk away with after watching this video?
Thanks, Melati. Essentially the video is not meant to be a final statement, but rather an invitation for people to kind of really understand or explore what it means to be an environmental frontliner. Gab spoke really well about it earlier. It tends to be that, as we know, that coastal communities, environmental frontliners are one of them, are most vulnerable to the effects of climate change. But it's been proven that climate change has made storms more unpredictable and intense in recent years. but two, also they have the most insight on how to navigate these environmentally unstable times. Filipinos and other coastal nations are celebrated for being resilient. And resilience is usually framed as a survivor or victim narrative, but it should also be respected as wisdom or expertise even. And so I think with emerging islands, we understand that we have a lot to learn from them. And that's why we seek to amplify the ecological work that these communities are essentially already doing, and also to actively collaborate with them in telling the stories about these islands. So at the end of the video, actually, you see a blanket that we commissioned from our weaving community. And this for us, I guess, as everyone has been saying in the comments, is the ultimate message of the song, which is to embrace our color, not just literally, but in the sense of Kayumangi, which is a tapestry of care and wisdom that is at the heart of these island communities, to which the human and the non-human equally belong.
That's a truly compelling image, Nicola. And I see here one of the live comments that I just have to share with you from Queenie Virtudazo saying, I can see Kayumangi now is another term of self-love. I thought that was super sweet, and I wanted to share that with all of you tonight. Ben and Ben, on behalf of all your fans out there joining us live today, could you sing a snippet of this new song live right now?
Of course, of course. Game, guys. By the way, what you can see here, it's the first time we're doing something like this. It's called a Randalia ensemble. And it's basically Filipino-Spanish instruments, which it's basically very similar to the guitar. So we hope you like this. So we're quite nervous, but here we go. Ang bawat kulay ng bawat bahagari ay walang nasabi sa'yo na humay. Kung kayumanggi ang iyong balat, ipagmalaki saan man mapadpad, magkapanganak hanggang sa paghimlay, yakapin ang kulay. Magkapanganak hanggang sa paghimlay, yakapin ang kulay.
Woo!
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Wow. Thank you so much. The fans are loving the song. Thank you so much, Ben and Ben, Judd, and everyone from Emerging Islands. That song really touches the heart. I'm sure, like me, all of our viewers out there cannot wait to watch the full video. So look out, everyone, for the full launch of the Kayumangi MV in November. Thank you all, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, Melody. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Liwanag.
Wow, that energy. I am ready to continue on to our next topic, and I hope you are feeling just the same. Our next topic, choices in an urban setting. Here to teach us more about what we can change in our everyday lives, we have two very big idols of mine. From Singapore, we have actor, host, and co-founder of an organization fighting ocean plastic pollution, Paul Foster. And from Indonesia, nice and close to my home, Bali, we have climatologist and Nat Geo explorer, Dr. Intan Suci Nurhati. Don't forget to comment in our live chat. And for now, let's take a listen to Paul and Intan.
Selamat pagi, Intan.
Pagi, Paul. Good morning. How are you? How are you?
I'm very good. I'm very good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm in Jakarta. Where are you now?
Jakarta. I'm in Singapore.
Singapore.
So yeah, I was wondering where exactly you were because I know you do rove around Indonesia a little bit.
Yes, hopping the islands.
And what's been keeping you busy? Have you been doing a lot of research still, considering everything?
Well, research, we have to go to the field in a more cautious manners, but we still go in the field, but there's a lot of data, as you know, and we can also do a lot of interview through Zoom and online because everybody's home. So it's actually, it's a good way to do research differently, but we still get data and try to understand the planet. How about you?
Of course. Yeah, you know, I mean, I'm not on your level. Obviously, you're like a pro, academic pro that, like you said, gets all the data to prove that we do all need to do better and make the positive changes. And that's where I come in. Obviously, I come in on the positive change side where I try to do the good things in my life every day. Try to be a little bit more eco-conscious. Be a little bit more aware, but also at the same time, trying to share my experiences to create the awareness and hopefully inspire others to also do their best. And for me, I always say, I think it's the easiest if you start at home. So I'm a very big advocate for like trying to educate and show people what you can do at home to be a little bit more sustainable.
Yes, that's impressive. And I love to hear that you really do it through actions because from research point of view, we actually did a little survey in Jakarta area and we asked how do you feel about this issue, right? And everybody say it was actually 98% people say it's a very, very important issue. You know?
Okay, that's good.
Yeah, that's great. Everybody's so into this, right? But then we fed with a second question and we asked, how many of you have right now are recycling or do recycle on daily basis? And the number dropped to 50%.
Oh my goodness.
So we need to bridge this gap. So if we say that, are we doing a good job in making people aware of the issues? Yes, 100%. We are doing a good job. But are we doing? Are we there yet in terms of having real impact in the environment through people's action, day-to-day actions like what you're doing in your home? So let's do it little by little. Whatever you do most frequently, you can do that. Yeah.
So as much as what I do privately at home, you know, with my recycling and composting, I think it's also very important to be actionable outside, especially for me. When I'm on set with some productions, it's probably the worst place when it comes to single-use plastics. But I always bring my reusable cutlery and my, reusable bottles everywhere, and I fill it up with water. So I found that by me doing this, I feel it's a small thing because I just have done it for so long. I start to use it. And slowly I've seen a little bit of a change with some people where they start to bring their own cutlery. And I love that. And I think it's that positive influence, not by so much saying it and preaching it, but just doing and people noticing. And when they notice it, they get inspired to be like, hey, maybe I should be able to do that too. But I still think we've got a bit of way to go to get there for that. But chipping away. Small little green steps.
And we talk about recycling, and the idea is why do we have to even get into that stage? Like before we recycle, why don't we just reduce or not using plastic? And especially in Asia, my dad used to say like, back in the day we just use more banana leaves or things that are organic, so you don't have waste. There's no waste in nature, right? And the reason I'm saying this, and this is related to pandemic, is because we also did research that shows that people buy more things online during pandemic. But you know what happened when you buy online is you also have extra plastic packaging, things like cable ties, like cling wrap, plastic wrap. Some of these things we can reuse, like bubble wrap. I love bubble wrap. I can reuse it for, like wrapping my samples or whatnot. But
yes.
But cable ties is just how do you reuse cable ties, right?
I kind of employ 5 R's in my lifestyle.
Nice.
So like, of
Tell
course,
me.
recycle, reduce, reuse, refuse, and rethink. So what you're touching upon now is rethinking, changing that consumer behavior of like, ooh, do I really need to buy that much stuff, or do I need to buy it from this place because I noticed like there's so much single-use plastic packaging, which is not good. Should I start to maybe support brands and you know and companies that are trying to be a little bit more green, a little bit more eco-conscious? There's a lot more we can do together on different levels.
Yeah, you're right. It's about rethinking what kind of decision you want to make. If you can refuse from the beginning and use more organic, you can actually, in a lot of places, you can empower a lot of new employment by just remembering all this organic source of packaging, right? That's one thing. So the ecology and economy can work together. And we also have to know, though, different plastics, not all plastics are equal. What we found that in our research in Jakarta, we look at all the stuff that flows into Jakarta Bay, right? And then, lo and behold, we found a lot of plastics. But then we tried to sort, different categories of plastics. There's like plastic bottles, and what we found to be the dominant one is styrofoam. And we're like, why styrofoam? Because it has no value to trash pickers. So this is something that I think consumers and policymakers needs to understand, that yes, we are banning plastic, but we also have to know which plastic we should prioritize.
Yeah, actually, Intan, on that point, I think a lot of people don't realize that bottle caps are actually not recyclable. So even though the plastic bottles are, people think, oh, we just put the whole bottle and the cap into the recycling bin, but the caps aren't. I started an initiative called All Clear here in Singapore. The parent company actually already cleans the coastal waters of Singapore.
Nice.
They've been doing it for over 20 years. But our kind of CSR component of that company, All Clear, we wanted to go out to the region to help to clean up rivers around Southeast Asia. When we collect the trash from the water, it either gets incinerated because it's contaminated, or if it can be cleaned, it will be recycled. But we do take all the bottle caps, and I'm in the process of some R&D with making coasters.
Show me.
I have some here I can show you. So, this is your typical the blue caps from your plastic bottles. You can make a coaster.
Once molded.
So that's really cool. Yeah. I'm in the process of trying to see if I can kind of repurpose and make everyday household products that you will actually genuinely use.
For many people, it could be, a source of income, actually, and a lot of people, I always say, like, I'm a scientist, and the fact that I provide all this data to policymakers, to society, doesn't mean that that's it, that's my role. Like, I have to talk the talk and walk the walk, right? But yeah, for me, what I found that was like, I love drinking cold drinks. Even back then when I was in Singapore, I used to live in Clementi, and it's like a bubble tea heaven. It's like all good bubble teas are there. So I was like a regular for bubble tea. Like you say, I start feeling guilty about the straw. You use it for half an hour, and then it doesn't have to be plasticky and sticky, right? So yeah, but back then, what was it? 10 years ago, I stopped drinking bubble tea because of that guilt. But when I moved to Jakarta, it didn't change. I started loving drinking coffee, and I started ordering, coffee in plastic cups. And I was like, well, I'm not going anywhere with this. So it ended up being a new hobby for me. I start processing coffee. I start buying green beans of coffee, because people say it gives better taste when you roast it yourself. And then I start growing coffee. So I know where my coffee comes from. I know there's not much carbon imprint on it. So it kind of becomes a hobby, and it's kind of like, I only drink my own coffee, not because it's the best coffee, but it's the coffee that I know I drink it responsibly. and
Yes,
it's a
yes.
daily thing.
And guilt-free.
Yes, guilt-free now. Yes.
I think the guilt, what you said about the guilt is probably the first thing. If you're already feeling that, it means that you do care.
Yes. One thing is, okay, you can feel guilty, but don't let it stop there. You know, you have to make your guilt into something positive.
Something.
So I'm not saying that what I'm doing is applicable to people in Singapore, and maybe what you're doing is applicable for me to Jakarta, but we're all doing something with the same issue, right?
Yeah, I mean, and there's so many things,
Yes.
right? There are so many things that people can do. I mean, even for myself, so I carbon offset my car.
Yeah.
Yes, I drive, I understand. So how do I carbon offset? I plant trees.
Yes.
I donate to an organization, Eco Matcher, for example. So I always tell people, look, you can't be 100% sustainable. But, you know, let's be realistic here. We live in a modern world. We still have to do a lot of things in our life that aren't necessarily healthy for Mother Nature.
Yes.
But there are so many other things you can kind of do, all the little green steps to help to just dial that back. And if everyone does something, it all contributes. So hopefully, as long as we keep pushing this agenda, as long as we keep exploring, as long as we keep sharing, and people are willing to learn, that's also a very huge step in the right direction of sustainability. We're now in a day and age where if you need to go and find out something, just type it in, right? You can Google something and you'll get some sort of answers somewhere.
Yes,
so,
unleash your capableness, right? We all very serious. Be capable and just unleash your creativity. You know, as a scientist, I mean, I give the data, but a lot of times I would just have to stop and say, you know what, I'm the explorer, but you are the change maker, because I don't want to at the same time sort of directing people too much and then limiting their willingness to unleash their creativity. It's also fun that just leave the ideas for people to think about and really, you know, make it applicable to where they live. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. You know, Intan, as much as we're talking about everything, I think also we're kind of in that position in our lives now where we are trying to make a difference in our respective fields. I guess my question to you would be like, what do we say to the younger generation to you know, get going, to I guess inspire them a little bit more, or whatever they choose to do in life, in a career, they are the next generation that have the real power to make a change.
Yes, I totally agree. I think the key is also in the next generations. And there are so many ways you can contribute to keeping our planet in balance. We heard about being scientists, and being scientists are not only for people who like to be outdoors. For example, if you love doing computer programming, a lot of computer programmers become modelers for our climate and the environment. A lot of people who love engineering becomes inventors to create perhaps a machine that can pick up trash using artificial intelligence. So really unleash your passions. And a lot of people also love communications. And this is very important in earth science as well, not just sort of the hard science, but also how you can communicate better all these environmental issues. Personally, I love talking to high school students the most because their passions, their aspirations are so diverse. So I felt that if I could be a good virus, teaching them about how to care for the environment, I just can't imagine themselves to become politicians, scientists, inventors, science communicators, influencers. I mean, the amount of possibilities are endless.
You know, in 10, 20, 30 years' time, this group of people are going to be the ones that are going to be policymakers. They're going to be the ones that are making the big decisions. I guess to all the younger people out there, you know, find your cause, find your passion, stick to it. Whatever you choose to do, career-wise, you know, I think we all still have a part to play in protecting Mother Nature and ensuring that they will continue doing the good for the next generation after them.
Good point.
After we are gone. After we
Yes.
are gone. Well, Intan, it's been a real pleasure catching up with you today. I love the work you do, and I hope that the audience watching our conversation, if they were going to take anything away from this, it's just to know that whatever little action they can do goes a long way.
Yes, totally, Paul. We are in this journey together, and it's been a pleasure for me to work with you, and just having that synergy of information and data into real actions in the field. And I would love to see how you're doing in the future and everyone's efforts in the future. So let's keep conversing.
Yes.
Remember, it is possible. Stay optimist and be a good virus.
And we are back already on topic number 4. Are you still with us? If you need to grab, stretch, move around, keep your excitement and energy levels high, because we are about to go into another insightful conversation for Planet Possible Day, and we want to keep you with us. Now, we've asked a couple of questions live. This next conversation will be all about how we're taking power back into our own hands to create change, no matter where you are in the world, but especially if you are in an urban setting. What's your go-to eco-friendly life hack? If you haven't yet answered this question, take the time to exercise your fingers on the keypad and share with us in the live chat. Some of you who have already shared, Milk Chen, you're sharing with us that you bring your own Tupperwares cup, and when you go shopping, take away drinks and food. Sharina Agraim, you are asking a question which we will address very soon. And then there's one more life hack, which was recycling ice cream buckets or cups into then later pots for plants. So we're excited to hear from you. Enough from me. Let's bring in our guests for today, 2 National Geographic explorers, Intan and Lily. Hello, and we are also joined with Paul, Changemaker from Singapore. We're all joining in from 3 big cities around the world. Hello, everyone. Intan, the first question is for you. Can you talk to us a little bit more in depth? What is the actual power that people have living in cities to create big movements of change?
Great question, Malati, and thanks National Geographic for bringing this topic up. So as we know, since 10 years ago, there are more people living in cities than outside of it. So 55% people around the globe are now living in the city, and it's projected could be up to 70% by 2050. So there's a lot more of us. And especially in Asia, we're having a growing consumer class. The data show 55% of consumer class is actually in Asia. So this is the right time for us to talk about this, about the power of urbanite, the power for us to consume responsibly.
SDG 12, produce and consume responsibly. And I think where it really starts, and especially what we want to try and tackle in this conversation, is the individual power that we all have. Intan, something that inspired me, what you said before going live, was really the spirit of not waiting for someone else to take action. And Paul, this is exactly what you do every single day, trying to inspire more people to take action. What got you involved in doing these eco life hacks? What are some of them, and why do you do them?
Well, I've just always cared for the environment.
It's super soft. Now I don't
love. Can you hear me? Can you hear me okay? No?
Hey, I think we have a slight technical difficulty. Lily and Intan, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you well. Paul, perhaps the volume?
Paul, you can hear me now? All right, we'll wait for a second. We've seemed to lost we've seen to have lost Paul. So Lily, can we move on to you? Being in this space of trying to empower and inspire individuals all over the world as well to take these eco hacks into practice, what are you finding as being some of the best techniques to actually mobilize people?
Sure, definitely. So I think like one of the things we have to all recognize is that sustainability starts with ourselves. What we do, how we live, what we carry through us in our day-to-day, all of that really impacts how we make the impact on the planet. So for instance, like what do I have? I've got my bamboo toothbrush. Instead of using napkins, I've got my own little towel. I could like choose little fun things to play with. I love bubble milk tea as well. So I have a little like bubble milk tea container that I carry on my backpack, and of course the usable utensils. But all of those things are not just things that you necessarily have to buy into. Sustainability isn't a matter of like buying into it. The way to mobilize people is start with action with yourself, lead by example, do what you need to do, and get other people involved. And then people are starting to be like, oh, we can do this in a different way. I don't have to use a single-use plastic. I don't have to like put my stuff in the rubbish bin and know that it's going to go leak into the marine environment or go into landfill. No, we start by mobilizing people by taking action ourselves. I think that's really, really, really powerful.
Thank you, Lily. And I think as a storyteller, we can see in the way you're delivering, it's super inviting for people to take action as well. Paul, I see you are back with us. Welcome back. Let's try it again for the question for you. It was really, I was on a roll. I was really feeling excited to hear your answer. So we'll circle back. And Paul, you are doing this every day, implementing little eco lifestyle hacks in your everyday life. Why did you start doing this? And share a little bit about what those eco hacks actually are.
Yeah, can you hear me, first of all?
Yes.
All right, yes. That's a good start. Well, guys, I've always loved nature. I've always loved being outdoors and doing things, cared for the animals. So for me, it was a very natural, organic kind of love. I've always had the passion for it. And I guess as you grow older and you're able to be in control of your life a little bit more and make the right decisions,
what is this red text? How
that's
can
the
you
whole
make
point.
your bubble tea?
And, I've learned to just do a lot of things at home. I feel like if you start from home and control your life, that's the way you should be able to do it. And recycling, composting at home, these two are the biggest things I control, where I've realized I've taken about 70% out of my total trash output. So what I throw away is now only 30% of my overall rubbish. And I love it because then my organic waste gets compost. It decomposes naturally, doesn't add to the whole greenhouse effect. And I get to recycle or reuse a lot of my packaging, whether it's plastic or cardboard. You try to find the ways that work. And I think if you employ them to do that, it's great.
Exactly. And I hope that those of you tuning in and listening, after hearing Paul, I'm hoping you're thinking, if Paul can do it, I can do it too. Now, at the beginning, we promised we'd talk about bubble tea, right? And here is the bubble tea part. We asked the question out to all of our Nat Geo explorers and audience members tuning in. How can you actually make your bubble tea or coffee more sustainable? That was the part where we wanted to talk about. And Raya, you are coming back with an answer for us. You are sharing that your answer is make your own coffee at home and make sure the beans are sourced locally and sustainably. Again, a common thread of the source of your products. Sandra Dharmawana, you are saying, I have made my very own bubble tea from scratch, and at home we have the bubble tea straw and I use that with a glass cup. Amazing. So there are all these different ways that you can contribute on an individual level to take action. What do you feel, Intan, maybe moving back to you, coming here from Indonesia, I'm also very curious to hear from you. What are some of the thoughts that maybe act as a barrier for people to take that first step to implementing eco life hacks?
Yeah, I think actually Paul and I talk about it a lot. Like, let's start something with concrete but achievable. If you think about, this is a mountainous task, and you don't start right away, then you're just gonna get overwhelmed. So the idea is what Paul has been saying: chipping one bit at a bit. What have you been contributing? What what sources of plastic are you still producing right now into the environment? And just think, for me, it's just always looking for low-hanging fruits first. So there are many things that we are still doing. As if you change something so simple, but especially something that you do it so frequently, like my drinking tea and coffee habit, then something so small, but because you do it so frequently, it's a great way to reach that low-hanging fruit right away. But you have to do it from today, though.
Thank you so much, Intan, for that insights. And I think there is still so much work to do when it comes to creating this massive shift that we need to see. Lily, there was this question also that we asked to our live audience along the lines of how can your future or current career make the world greener? I'd be curious to hear your insights. But first, some of the questions that we have here. From Vivian Alissa Resus. Since my dream career is to be a businesswoman, I would be sustainable as possible in preparing my products and packaging them as well. There's another comment here from Calm Summer. Find employment with companies that are on green operations and support your organization's sustainability efforts. But let's dig deeper. Lily, what are your thoughts?
So I think when we think about the concept of sustainability, we think of a bunch of things. We think of bringing our own cups, bringing our own utensils. These are the base points that we use to really intersect into that pathway. When we're thinking about how to be sustainable in our careers, a lot of that has to do with understanding this entire cycle, this entire system, understanding where things come from, how they are made, what carbon emissions do they have. It can be very overwhelming at first, but it's really, really important to recognize that as human beings who walk on this planet, we have all these different touch points that connect us to each other and the planet. And our role in being more sustainable is being able to understand them, and also to understand that every choice that we make does have an impact. And that's just a fact. So when we're thinking about how to be sustainable in our careers, we have to think about what decisions we make, what impact that they have. So as a storyteller, I want to be able to tell stories that connect people to the planet. And my idea of sustainability has everything to do with connection. If I can bring you closer to nature, if I can bring you closer to someone who may look different from you or has a different lifestyle from you, building that connection and that empathy and that understanding will allow us to be better on this planet together.
And especially, I think connection is key and such an integral part when we talk about sustainability for people in cities, and that connection, that bringing people in through storytelling, through leadership, and leading by example. Thank you so much, Intan, Paul, and Lily, for this insightful conversation. I've learned so much, and terima kasih for all of us here in Indonesia, but thank you all very much.
Sama.
Oh, wow. 6 years ago, let's take a little time travel. 6 years ago, the United Nations adopted 17 Sustainable Development Goals, or in short, you may know them as the SDGs. These 17 goals are our blueprint for a better and more sustainable future for all by 2030. A way to work together to end poverty, reduce inequality, and tackle the climate crisis. What can young people do to contribute? This is a question that personally comes up quite a lot in my head, but for many of us as well on the front lines. Lily here managed to catch a rare interview with none other than the UNDP Regional Director for the Asia Pacific, Kani Wignaraja, to get the answers for our questions. So stay tuned for that, and in our next special segment, let's take a listen to Lily and Kani.
We're so excited to have Kani Wignaraja, the United Nations Development Program Regional Director for the Asia Pacific region, join us for this special segment on Planet Possible. So we want to connect the dots between the UN Sustainable Development Goals and what it means to live lightly on the planet. So what are the Sustainable Development Goals?
The SDGs are this amazing set of goals that we just all got to do our best to achieve, because without them, at the heart of which is how do we live together on this planet, taking care of the planet and ourselves. But it helps us push together towards something that's common, right? Something that's shared. And the SDGs, to me, more than the metrics, more than the numbers, is a deep set of values that come with showing that what's important to us. So the SDGs bring us together as a group of goals to really push entire communities, even countries, to think and act in the same direction, even though we are so different.
So when we're thinking about sustainability, what positive steps has the Asia Pacific region taken to reach that?
Well, Lily, this is a vast region, right? So you're going to get push and pull. Nothing's a straight line here. But I think if you look at the region as a whole, the fact that it's embraced a higher level of ambition, I think we were too shy for too long and maybe not bold enough. And I think now you're seeing a push to saying we can use the science and technology and knowledge that we have, right? Why haven't we applied knowledge and science to taking care of our environment and our climate in ways that is at scale, not just the small things, but really at scale. So that's something that I see the region really driving towards. I also see of late much bolder steps by leaders to say we actually can get out of fossil fuels. And then I think because of an amazing younger generation that's saying we can do it differently. Our dreams are different. And those dreams include having and living in a cleaner planet, right? It's good for our health and it's good for the planet, and we can do both. So maybe it's a generation that says we want it all, but in a positive sense that it protects and promotes this planet and people we live with. So that's what I find is so powerful. And you know, policy makers across Asia and the Pacific, and I think this is true in most parts of the world, they don't ignore movements because these are also, if not already, soon going to be the voters of the future. And these voters will vote you out if you don't both value and act on those values for a different future.
Absolutely. I mean, in following that train of thought, if you could give a message to young people right now about how they can realize the SDGs and encourage them to live more lightly on the planet, what would you want to share?
So to me, the fact is that all of us feel sometimes that, and particularly young people feel that they are a lone voice and that they're somehow in this shouting in the wilderness and no one's hearing them. And that is just not true. There's so many people waiting for that voice and are listening for it. So to have the courage to say what's in your heart and in your mind with the knowledge you have, that to me changes the world.
That was beautiful. Thank you. I think the final question that I have for our segment today is to really understand, what importance and what role does the Asia Pacific region have in fighting climate change?
This is a region that is going to make it or break it globally. So it's not just for the region, because this is where we've got some of our fastest growing economies, our biggest emitters in the Southern Hemisphere, but also those with the means to make a difference. Right? I think it's in Asia that the change will happen and it'll drive the change for everyone else. So the minute most of Asia says, we are getting out of coal and we're doing it by this date, right? A lot of the world will follow because this is where the demand and supply is, right? This is where you're going to see the tech, the innovation, the drive. It's going to come from this region. I'm biased, obviously, but I see it. and it's exciting. This is the region that will save the world.
This is the region that will save the world. I think that's such a powerful, powerful way to conclude this segment. And helping people understand that in order to live lightly on the planet doesn't mean you have to pick and choose between binaries. It just means you have to have the courage and the value set to guide you to where you want, and to believe that we can live more lightly on the planet and have a better future together. Connie, thank you so much for joining us for this conversation. It has been lovely to be a part of this energy that you share, and to understand that it's not just about the metrics, but it's about the passion and the willpower to make these changes, and the courage for people to feel when they believe that everyone collectively can move forward towards a greener, cleaner, and better future together. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Lily. Let me say that, oh, what an amazing conversation. And really to thank National Geographic and the Planet Possible production team. Very special to be able to engage and share thoughts with you. So thank you so much, all of you.
To echo Connie's last word, it is very special indeed to be here with all of you tonight, to have listened to so many incredible speakers so far. But we're not done quite yet. I feel like almost this next section deserves a slight drum roll almost, because what we're about to hear is something that many of you joining in live have been waiting for. We're about to be joined from someone who's a superstar singer-songwriter and has many fans online who have been commenting throughout the show. So this, as you can say, is the cherry on top for many of us waiting. Let's now welcome Moira Della Torre to the conversation.
Hi,
Hello.
everyone. Hi, Melati.
How are you?
How are you? Oh, I'm good. How are you?
Good. It's been an incredible session, and I'm so happy to see your face. As much as I think many of us right now are going crazy in the comments, we cannot wait to hear from you, Moira. Can you tell us a little bit more about this song that we're about to hear from you, a new arrangement of your popular song, We and Us?
Oh, thank you so much. But first of all, I want to say it's such an honor to meet you, Melati. And of course, I want to say hi to everybody watching, and also thank Nat Geo for giving me the opportunity to be a part of such a meaningful show. I am so honored to be able to launch this new reimagined version of We and Us here on National Geographic. This song was actually written for the wedding of my friend, Joaquin Pedro Valdez. And he had approached me and asked me if I can turn his poem into a song. And that's exactly what we did. And 5 to 6 years later, now at its reimagined version, it has become the soundtrack for so many people's stories, including mine. And 2 years ago, I married my best friend, and I have learned quite a few things, and 2 of them being that love is patient, love is kind, it always protects, always trusts, always hopes, always perseveres. And when you come from a place of love, it never fails. And another thing I've learned is that since we are social and environmental beings, it's always better when we go together. You can see the most amazing sunset or a sky filled with stars, but it's always more special when you share it with someone. And these lessons, I believe, can also be applied to our relationship with our planet. How do we do our part in making a difference, starting from our home and, being consistent with the changes we make, no matter how small, taking it one step at a time and being part of a community. And this song just really inspires me to make sure that I show compassion to everybody I come across every step of the way, and effectively educate people around us with what we've learned, knowing that at the end of the day, it was always meant to be we and us, because we were never meant to do this alone.
Wow, Moira, what a lead up into this song. I cannot wait to hear it. That was so beautiful, absolutely incredible. I know that there are a lot of love hearts coming into the comments. The audience is going wild. We hear that they know actually the version We and Us, but they're looking forward to this new arrangement that you are going to be performing for us later. Moira, I wanted to quickly get another answer from you about what you feel, what Planet Possible and this day specifically is making you feel. You've heard some of the segments previously. What's going through your mind? How are you feeling at the end of this Planet Possible?
Malati, I think I can speak for everybody. In the last 2 years, almost 2 years, I know that, hope's been a little drained a little bit. But having listened to everybody's stories today, it gave me so much hope. And I know I speak for everybody when I say I have so much takeaways from today's show, and also feel so thankful to have met trailblazers and people like you, Malati, who fiercely lead our generation to better days. So on behalf of everybody watching, to you, Malati, and to all our speakers, and to, of course, our National Geographic family, thank you so much for making today happen.
Well, one of our viewers live just commented in, I'm hearing it from our team, Jason Hernandez is asking, is that my wife? So
he's right in front of me.
Oh, there we go. Hi, Jason. Many of you as well tuning in and watching are asking if this show will be available afterwards. And the answer is yes. So stay tuned for that. But it has become a really beautiful ending towards an incredible couple of sessions. To all of you out there who made it this far, our journey is not done yet. It does not end here. It begins with all of you using your voices and your actions to create change. Together, we can live more lightly on this planet. Thank you again, everyone, for joining us. We'll say our goodbyes now with Moira's heartfelt song, We and Us, in a new, never-before-seen music video. Enjoy.
Rainbow notes upon the walls, dancing children and the rain falls. Perfect sunsets at the 10. Then we begin again. There's a ribbon in the sky, painted rivers in the moonlight, moving pictures say the words of a story that begins. I'll hold your hand and wipe your tears. We'll laugh until we run out of years. 'Cause no matter if our blue skies turn to gray, there's a ray of sun that's bound to light our way. And all the other roads are rough, we'll get through it just because I'll have my you, you'll have your me. No matter what may come, we'll have our we and us. Through tired eyes I see your soul. Promise you'll never be alone. I plan to do this forever. It's gonna be you and me, we and us. Oh, you and me, we and us. Oh, you and me, we and us forever. It will be you and me, we and us. Oh, you and me, we and us. Oh, you and me, we and us forever. 'Cause no matter if our blue skies turn to gray, there's a ray of sun that's bound to light our way. And although the roads are rough, we'll get through it just because I'll have my you, you'll have your me. No matter what may come, we'll have our we and us.
Hurry, the mountains are calling.